You don't have kids, so you have time. Just handle the cooking for everyone. It's not that hard. That text sat on my screen like a slap. I read it once, twice, 3 times, and each time the sting sharpened. It was from my younger brother Tyler, sent at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, as casually as if he were asking me to pass the salt. No greeting, no warmth, just a command disguised as logic. And just like that, something inside me that had been bending for years finally broke clean in half. My name is Sophia. I'm 32 years old, and I work as a senior architect at a firm downtown. I've spent the last decade building a life I'm proud of. My own apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows. A career that challenges me. A circle of friends who actually see me. I chose not to have children, not because I dislike them, but because I know myself well enough to understand that motherhood isn't where my meaning lives. I've never once regretted that decision. But my family, specifically my brother Tyler, has always treated that choice as though it makes me less busy, less important, and more available to serve. Tyler is 28. He married his college girlfriend Ashley, right after graduation, and they now have 3 kids. Emma, who's 7, Lucas, who's 5, and baby Nora, who just turned 1. They live in a modest ranch-style house about 20 minutes from our parents, and if you scrolled through Ashley's Instagram, you'd think they were living in a magazine. Every photo is curated, every caption dripping with gratitude and hashtags like #blessedlife and #familyfirst. The reality behind the filter is different. Tyler works as a logistics coordinator. Ashley stays home. Their budget is always stretched, and yet somehow, the image they project never cracks. At least, not publicly. It started about 6 weeks before Thanksgiving. My mother had just come through a knee replacement surgery. She was recovering well but couldn't stand for long, and cooking was completely out of the question. For as long as I can remember, Thanksgiving at our parents' house had been her production. The turkey brined for days, the cranberry sauce made from scratch, the pumpkin pie with the leaf-shaped crust she'd press by hand. It was her pride. And this year, for the first time in over 30 years, she couldn't do it. So I stepped in. Without being asked, without expecting anything, I called a high-end catering company downtown called Harvest and Vine. I booked their full Thanksgiving package: a 20-pound herb-roasted turkey, chestnut stuffing, roasted root vegetables, 3 kinds of pie, fresh dinner rolls, even a cheese board for appetizers. I rented linens, real silverware, crystal glasses, and a set of autumn centerpieces with candles and dried eucalyptus. I reserved a private dining space at a venue near my parents' neighborhood, a restored farmhouse with exposed brick and a working fireplace, so Mom wouldn't have to worry about cleaning or hosting in her own home. The total came to just over $4,800. I paid every cent myself, happily. I didn't tell anyone the number. I just said, "It's handled." My mother cried on the phone when I told her. "Your father and I are so grateful, Sophia. You didn't have to do all this." But I wanted to. I wanted her to sit at a beautiful table, eat food she didn't have to cook, and just enjoy her family. That was my only wish. No recognition, no payback. Just one perfect evening for the woman who had given us everything. For about 2 weeks, things went smoothly. I coordinated with the venue, confirmed the menu, and arranged for a wheelchair-accessible entrance so Mom could move comfortably. Then Tyler called. "Hey, Soph. So Ashley and I were talking, and we figured since the dinner's at that big venue, we'd invite a few more people. You know, the Hendersons from church, and Ashley's cousin Brooke and her family, and maybe Dave and Tina from the neighborhood. With their kids, it's probably 12 extra people. Maybe 14. His tone was breezy, like he was adding items to a grocery list. I paused. 12 to 14 extra people? Yeah. I mean, the place is big, right? And it's Thanksgiving. The more the merrier. Tyler, I booked that space for our family. 8 people. The catering is set for 8. I can't just double the head count a few weeks out. There are costs involved. He laughed. A short, careless laugh that made my jaw tighten. Come on, Soph. You don't have kids. You don't have a mortgage. You've got the money. Besides, Ashley already told everyone they're invited. It's gonna be amazing. She's planning to do a big post about it. That last sentence landed like a brick. Ashley had already told people. Already announced it online. Before even asking me. Before even checking. My name wasn't on the invitation. My effort wasn't acknowledged. But my wallet was wide open and everyone had been told to come right in. I kept my voice steady, though my hand gripped the phone so hard my knuckles went pale. Tyler, I need you to hear me clearly. I organized this dinner for Mom. I'm paying for all of it. You can't just invite 14 strangers and expect me to cover it and cook extra food on top of what's catered. His voice shifted, the breezy casualness replaced by something harder. Why are you making this about money? It's family. And honestly, you don't have a family of your own to take care of, so it's not like you're overwhelmed. You've got the time, and you've got the cash. Just handle the extra sides and desserts yourself. You're a great cook. It'll take you what, a few hours? There it was. The sentence I had heard in 100 different forms my entire life. You don't have kids, so you have time. As if my life without children was an empty room waiting to be filled with other people's errands. As if the career I'd built, the home I'd made, the peace I'd earned were all just filler until I found something real to do. I took a breath. I'll think about it, I said. And I hung up. But I didn't think about it. I already knew. What I didn't know yet was how far Tyler would push. The answer came 2 days later in our family group chat. Tyler had sent a message to everyone. Mom, Dad, me, and Ashley's separate thread that I'd been added to without consent. Quick update. Sophia is hosting an amazing Thanksgiving feast at Winslow Farmhouse for 20+ people. She's covering everything. Catering, drinks, decorations, the works. We are so blessed to have her. Ashley's going to capture the whole thing for the family blog. It's going to be epic. My mother replied with a heart emoji and wrote, Sophia, that's so generous of you, sweetheart. My father added, sounds like a great time. I stared at my screen. Nobody asked if I had agreed. Nobody questioned why the head count had doubled. Nobody said, wait, did Sophia actually say yes to all this? They just assumed, because that's what they'd always done. Assumed I'd show up, pay up, and shut up. I typed a careful reply. I didn't agree to this. The dinner was planned for our immediate family only. 8 people. I haven't approved any additional guests. Within minutes, Tyler called. His voice was no longer casual. It was cold. Sophia, what's your problem? You're embarrassing, Ashley. She already told everyone. You can't just pull the rug out now. I didn't invite those people, Tyler. You did, without asking me. Because I knew you'd say no. You always say no. You're the most selfish person in this family. You sit in your fancy apartment with your fancy job and you can't even do one thing for the people who actually have responsibilities. I closed my eyes. The words stung not because they were true, but because they were the same words I'd heard since I was 16. I need to explain something here. Growing up, Tyler was the golden child. Not because he was exceptional, but because he gave my parents what they wanted most. Grandchildren, a traditional path, the appearance of a full life. When I graduated top of my class in architecture school, my father said, that's nice, but when are you going to settle down? When I got promoted to senior architect at 29, my mother's first response was, Tyler and Ashley just announced they're expecting again. Isn't that wonderful? Every milestone I reached was met with polite indifference, while every breath Tyler took was celebrated like a national holiday. I learned early that love in my family was conditional. It was currency, and Tyler always had more of it. Not because he earned it, but because his life looked the way my parents thought a life should look. And I, with my blueprints and my independence and my deliberately empty second bedroom, was always the odd one out. So when Tyler called me selfish, it wasn't a new wound. It was an old one, ripped open for the 100th time. That night, my mother called. Sophia, honey, Tyler's really upset. Can't you just accommodate a few more people? You've always been so capable, and it would mean so much to Ashley. She's been planning content for her blog around this dinner. Mom, I organized this for you. Not for Ashley's blog. Not for Tyler's friends. For you. I know, sweetheart, and I appreciate it. But Tyler's right about one thing. You do have more flexibility than he does. He's got 3 little ones. You don't have those demands on your time. Would it really be so terrible to cook a few extra dishes and let a few more people join? The silence that followed was deafening. Even my mother, the woman I was doing all of this for, had sided with him. Not because he was right, but because it was easier. Because saying yes to Tyler and no to me had always been the path of least resistance in our family. I said goodnight. I set my phone on the nightstand, and I lay in the dark for a long time, staring at the ceiling, feeling something shift inside me. Not anger, something quieter, something final. By morning, my decision was made. Not in a burst of fury, but in a calm, clean certainty, like the first cold morning of winter when everything is still and sharp and clear. I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of black coffee, my laptop open, and I began. First, I called Harvest and Vine. The owner, Rebecca, picked up on the second ring. "Good morning, Sophia. Everything okay with the Thanksgiving order?" "Hi, Rebecca. I need to cancel the entire package. All of it." A pause. "Cancel? Everything? The turkey, the sides, the pies? Everything. I'm sorry for the late notice. I'll pay whatever cancellation fees apply." She was kind about it. Surprised, but professional. The cancellation fee came to $600. I didn't flinch. Done. Next, I called the Winslow Farmhouse venue and canceled the private dining reservation. The manager tried to talk me into rescheduling. I politely declined. Another $350 in non-refundable deposit. Fine. Then I went online. The linen rental, canceled. The silverware and crystal glasses, canceled. The autumn centerpieces with the dried eucalyptus and candles, canceled. The wheelchair ramp rental I'd arranged for Mom, canceled. One by one, like clearing pins off a board, I removed every piece of the evening I had built. Each cancellation confirmation that landed in my inbox felt like setting down a stone I'd been carrying up a hill. My shoulders loosened. My breathing slowed. I wasn't destroying something. I was reclaiming it. I lost about $1,100 total in fees and deposits. It was, without question, the most satisfying money I had ever spent. And then came the part that required the most discipline. I did nothing else. I didn't text Tyler. I didn't call my mother. I didn't post a cryptic message in the group chat. I simply closed my laptop, refilled my coffee, and picked up the novel I'd been reading, a quiet story about a woman sailing alone across the Atlantic. The autumn light came through my windows in long golden bands. My apartment was silent, except for the occasional hum of the radiator, and I felt, for the first time in weeks, completely at peace. I knew the storm was coming. I just didn't need to be standing in it when it arrived. The first rumble came 4 days before Thanksgiving. Ashley posted in the family group chat, "Can't wait for Thursday. Does anyone know what time we should arrive at the farmhouse?" No one answered, because no one had the information, because the farmhouse no longer had a reservation under my name. Then Tyler texted me privately, "Hey, what time should people show up Thursday? Also, what's the parking situation?" I read it. I set my phone face down on the counter. I went for a run. By Tuesday evening, things started to unravel. Tyler called me twice. I let it ring. Ashley sent a message. "Sophia, I haven't received any confirmation emails from the venue. Can you forward them?" I didn't reply. My mother texted, "Sweetheart, Tyler says he can't reach you. Is everything on track for Thursday?" I turned off my notifications. I opened a bottle of wine, put on an old Norah Jones album, and cooked myself a beautiful dinner. Seared salmon, roasted asparagus, a small salad with pomegranate seeds. I ate slowly, savoring every bite. On Wednesday morning, the day before Thanksgiving, the dam broke. I woke to 23 missed calls. 14 from Tyler, 6 from Ashley, 3 from my mother. The group chat had exploded. Tyler's messages started confused and grew increasingly frantic. "Sophia, the farmhouse says they have no reservation. Did you book under a different name? The catering company says the order was canceled 3 weeks ago. What is going on? Are you seriously not answering your phone right now? This isn't funny," Ashley already told everyone. The Hendersons, Brooke, Dave, and Tina. They're all expecting to come tomorrow. Then came Ashley's messages, sharp with panic and barely concealed rage. "Sophia, I need you to call me right now. I've been telling people about this dinner for weeks. My blog post is half written. You cannot do this to me. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? People have already bought outfits for this dinner. And my mother, whose message was the one that almost made me waver. Sophia, please tell me this is a misunderstanding. Your father and I were so looking forward to this. The kids have been counting down the days." I sat with my coffee and read every message twice. I felt something shift in my chest when I read the part about the kids. Emma and Lucas had probably been bouncing off the walls about the big fancy Thanksgiving dinner. They were innocent in all of this, and that truth sat heavy on me. But I also knew that shielding children from the consequences of their parents' behavior wasn't kindness. It was enabling. And I had done enough enabling for one lifetime. I waited until noon to respond, not because I needed time to think, but because I wanted Tyler to experience what I had felt for years. The hollow, sickening feeling of being ignored by someone who was supposed to care. At 12:15 p.m., I sent one message to the group chat. You told me I don't have real responsibilities, that my only role was to pay and cook. So I removed myself, and my responsibilities came with me. Happy Thanksgiving. The response was immediate and volcanic. Tyler called 17 times in 20 minutes. I declined every one. Ashley left a voicemail so furious it was nearly incoherent, something about ruining her brand and sabotaging the family. My father, who had said almost nothing throughout the entire ordeal, finally texted, Sophia, this was cruel. Your mother is crying. That one hurt. I won't pretend it didn't. But I also remembered that when Tyler publicly announced I was hosting 20 people without my permission, my father's only response had been, sounds like a great time. He hadn't questioned it. He hadn't defended me. He had smiled and nodded, because that was easier. And now, when the consequences arrived, suddenly, I was the villain. Over the next few hours, through a friend who knew Ashley's cousin Brooke, I heard what happened. Tyler had scrambled to save Thanksgiving. He called 3 restaurants, all booked. He tried to order a pre-made turkey from the grocery store. Sold out. He drove to 2 different supermarkets looking for a frozen turkey, and came back with a 2-pound bird that would take nearly 24 hours to thaw. Thanksgiving Day at my parents' house was, by all accounts, a disaster. The turkey was undercooked in the center. The sides were mismatched boxes of instant mashed potatoes and canned cranberry sauce. There were no linens, no candles, no centerpieces. Ashley's 14 guests showed up to a cramped living room with folding chairs and paper plates. Her cousin Brooke left within an hour, reportedly saying, this isn't what I was told to expect. The Hendersons stayed out of politeness but left before dessert, which was a store-bought pumpkin pie still in its plastic packaging. Ashley, who had promised her followers a gorgeous farmhouse Thanksgiving spread, posted nothing. For the first time in years, her feed went dark, and Tyler and Ashley argued. Not a polite disagreement behind closed doors, but a real, ugly fight in the kitchen that the guests could hear through the thin walls. He blamed her for telling people before confirming. She blamed him for not controlling his sister. The children cried. My mother sat in her wheelchair at the head of the table, silent, watching the family she had raised tear itself apart over a dinner that no one had bothered to earn. Meanwhile, I spent Thanksgiving exactly the way I wanted. 2 weeks before the cancellation, when I already knew what I was going to do, I had quietly made my own plans. I called my 3 closest friends, Dana, Priya, and Meg, and we booked a boutique cabin in the Smoky Mountains. Stone fireplace, wraparound porch, a kitchen big enough for all of us to cook together. On Thanksgiving morning, we woke up to fog rolling through the valley and the smell of pine. Dana made her grandmother's cornbread. Priya roasted a chicken with lemon and rosemary because none of us needed a 20-pound turkey. Meg brought 4 bottles of wine and a Bluetooth speaker loaded with Motown. I made my favorite butternut squash soup with a swirl of creme fraiche and a dark chocolate tart from a recipe I'd been saving for a special occasion. We ate slowly. We laughed until our stomachs ached. After dinner, we wrapped ourselves in blankets on the porch and watched the sunset paint the mountains in shades of amber and violet. No one asked me to serve them. No one expected me to clean up alone. No one treated me like staff. For the first time in years, I felt what Thanksgiving was actually supposed to feel like: gratitude, warmth, and the company of people who valued me for more than what I could provide. I posted one photo that evening. Just the 4 of us on the porch, wine glasses raised, the mountains behind us glowing in the last light. No caption, no hashtags, just the image. I found out later that Tyler saw it, and so did Ashley. The silence lasted 12 days. No calls, no texts, no passive-aggressive posts. Just a cold, empty void where my family used to be. I won't lie. There were moments, late at night, when the quiet felt too heavy. When I wondered if I'd gone too far. When Emma's face appeared in my mind, and I felt a dull ache in my ribs. But I didn't reach out. Because reaching out first had always been my role, and I was done playing it. On the 12th day, my phone rang. It wasn't Tyler, it wasn't my mother, it was Ashley. Her voice was different, smaller. The brittle confidence was gone, replaced by something raw and unfamiliar. Sophia, I need to say something, and I need you to just listen. Please. I said nothing. She took that as permission. I messed up. Not just with the Thanksgiving thing, with everything. I've been using your generosity to build an image that doesn't exist. I told people you were hosting because I wanted it to look like we had this perfect, abundant family life. I didn't think about what it cost you. Not the money, but what it cost you as a person. Tyler and I have been fighting every day since Thanksgiving. And last week, he sat me down and said something I couldn't argue with. He said, "We treated Sophia like an ATM with legs, and she finally closed the account." I heard her voice crack. He's right. I know he's right. I deleted my blog. Not just the Thanksgiving post. All of it. I've been lying to everyone, including myself. We can't afford the life I've been pretending we have. I got a part-time job at a bakery near our house. I start Monday. I listened. I didn't interrupt. When she finished, I waited a long moment, then said, "I appreciate you telling me this, Ashley. I mean that. There's more. Tyler wants to call you. He's been trying to figure out what to say. He's ashamed, Sophia. Really ashamed. And your mom? She told me last night that she knows she let you down. She said she's been thinking about all the times she sided with Tyler because it was easier, and she called it her biggest failure as a mother." That sentence hit somewhere deep, in a place I had armored so heavily I'd forgotten it was still tender underneath. I didn't cry on the phone. But after I hung up, I sat in my kitchen for a long time, watching the light move across the floor, and I let myself feel the full weight of 32 years of wanting to be seen. Tyler called 2 days later. He didn't make excuses. He didn't blame Ashley. He didn't say I overreacted. He said, "I used you. And the worst part is, I didn't even realize I was doing it until you stopped letting me. I told myself you owed it to us because you had more. More money, more freedom, more time. But none of that was mine to claim. I'm sorry, Sophia. I don't know how to fix this, but I want to try." I told him the truth. "You can start by never again telling me that my life is less full than yours because I don't have children. My life is full. It's just full of different things." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Yeah, I hear you." We didn't hug it out. There was no tearful family reunion at the front door. This wasn't a movie, and decades of imbalance don't dissolve in a single phone call. But it was a start. A small, imperfect crack in a wall that had stood far too long. A week later, a package arrived at my apartment. Inside was a handwritten card from my mother. The handwriting was shaky from her recovery, but every word was deliberate. "Sophia, I owe you an apology I should have given 20 years ago. You were never the difficult one. You were the strong one, and I leaned on that strength until it looked like indifference. I am so sorry. I love you. I have always loved you. I just forgot to show it to the one who needed it most." Beneath the card was a small framed photo I hadn't seen in years. Me at 16, holding my first design competition trophy, beaming at the camera. On the back, in my mother's handwriting, it said, "I should have told you then. I'm telling you now. I'm proud of you." I set the frame on my bookshelf, right at the front, where the light hits it every morning. Revenge is a strange word for what I did. I didn't set out to punish anyone. I set out to stop being punished. There's a difference, and it matters. When someone treats your generosity as obligation, your kindness as weakness, your boundaries as selfishness, the most radical thing you can do isn't to fight back. It's to walk away, quietly, completely, and let the absence speak for itself. My apartment is quiet tonight. The city hums outside my window. There's a half-read novel on the arm of my couch, and a cup of chamomile tea going cold on the table. And for the first time in as long as I can remember, the silence doesn't feel like loneliness. It feels like something I chose, something I earned, something no one can take from me. Because I finally learned the lesson my family never taught me. You don't owe anyone a seat at your table if they've never once offered you a chair at theirs.